was with John G. Sutton. Do please, ladies and gentlemen, do please like and subscribe and leave me some comments and requests. We had a request yesterday from Catherine. Catherine has been with us from the start. She asked me to sing No Milk Today by Herman's Hermits. I'll tell you a little bit more about Herman's Hermits when I get towards the end of this broadcast, and I will do that for Catherine today at the end. So I'll ring the song dinger, and all those who are easily offended, you can beat a hasty retreat. I highly recommend going to Rotherham and climbing the hills with Larry the Goat Herd. Anyway, today I'm going to talk about infamous inmates. Infamous inmates, including Mad Frankie Fraser. I've seen a number of people posting up about what a wonderful guy he was, Mad Frankie Fraser. How he used to go and sit in their house and didn't like the idea of guns being left hanging around for children to play with. And it really touched my heart, you know. I really did, because I knew the little weedy, creepy bastard. He was on Strangeways on A2 Landing. And I was actually in charge of the records office at the time. It was only occasionally, if there was short of staff, I got called on to do lunchtime on the landings whilst everybody was also on their lunch break. So I was in charge of the records, and as I say, Frankie Fraser's record came in. Now, most other people who came into the prison, even the Category A's, had a standard A4 but a hard-backed folder that contained the records of their times in prison. Fairly standard, really about that thick, you know, a couple inch thick, 2 inches thick, perhaps, if they've been in quite a while. But not Frankie Fraser. Frankie Fraser's prison record dated back to the late 1940s, early 50s, and it was in a cardboard box, a big cardboard box. It contained photographs of him as a youth of about 17, 18, when he had been imprisoned during World War II for breaking in to people's houses in London during the Blitz, when it was blackout. So the men were away fighting the Nazis, as Churchill would say, Nazis. Yeah, the Nazis. We will fight them on the beaches. Yeah, well, we were fighting them in Germany, whilst Mad Frankie Fraser was breaking into the homes during the periods of darkness in the blackout in London, robbing their houses. And he eventually got himself imprisoned and put into a psychiatric unit because they considered he was insane. And believe me, my experience of him was that he was insane. And as the officer in charge of the records office, I could read his records, and I had a good look. Loads of pictures of him all through his period. He'd actually been flogged twice. That was in the days when the prison governor could order that the inmate be birched or whipped with a cat o' nine tails for offending against good order and discipline. In Frankie Fraser's case, it was attacking staff. And his modus operandi was to attack from the back. In HMP Durham, he'd attacked one prison officer from behind with a metal chair, smashed it into the back of his head, and fractured the officer's optic nerve, rendering that prison officer blind for the rest of his life. Mad Frankie Fraser. He was about 5'2", and he probably weighed about 10 stone, but he was extremely dangerous because he operated with weapons, axes, pliers. He was known as an enforcer for the mob, for the Cray twins and the Richardsons in London. And what he did was he got the big boys to hold them down and nail people to the wooden floors of the old warehouses in London, and he had a blowtorch where he would torture them and a set of pliers where he would rip their teeth out. Nice guy, eh? Kind of guy got to look up to, got to respect that man, eh? One of the boys, eh? On A2 landing, he was being mollycoddled by the number one chief officer. You've seen him if you had a look at Series 3 or Episode 3 of the Strange Ways documentary. The chief officer 1 was Rawlinson, and he was taking in pork pies to Mad Frankie Fraser. And one afternoon, as I say, at lunchtime, I was on A2 landing, and who should walk out from the recess but Mad Frankie Fraser? Everybody's locked down. So I said to him, Fraser, I could obviously knew him because I'd seen his pictures enough. Fraser, what are you doing? Oh, he said, it's all right. The chief officer says I'm perfectly, I'm allowed out of my cell. So go back to your cell. Anyway, he went back to his cell, but he didn't close the door. And when I went to his cell, I said, you not shut the door? He said, that's your job, screw. I said, when I'm on duty, stay inside your cell. And I locked him in. He was a horrible creep. I mean, you've only just got to look at him to see what a nasty bastard he was. He'd obviously been badly beaten throughout his life, but no wonder. He'd spent over 40 years of his life, adult life, in prison. That's how much of a gangster he was. That's how much of a success he was. Disgraceful, horrible, creepy bastard. He gave you the creeps, I tell you. And as for not telling him to his face, people say, oh, you wouldn't say that to his face. Believe me, I would. And I did. Number of other notorious inmates that I crossed the path with. Of course, we've talked about Ian Brady, another really horrible, nasty piece of work. And around Ian Brady, there was a darkness. I don't know if any of you have ever seen auras, but around Ian Brady, the Moors murderer, there was this real darkness, and he had terrible eyes. And at night he used to sit right behind his cell door looking at the Judas hole in the door, because every 15 minutes he had to check on him because he was on suicide watch. And he would be sat right behind his door staring at the Judas hole so that you were seeing him staring at you. Horrible piece of work. I've told this story before, but I'll tell it again today. I was on duty one lunchtime again, on the block at Wormwood Scrubs, and it would be probably about 12:30, 20 to 1, and the door into the segregation unit opened, and in walked this immaculately dressed individual. I immediately recognised him as a member of the House of Lords. I knew who he was. And the officer in charge, the senior officer in charge, brought him up onto the landings and said to me, Mr. Sutton, stand to one side, do not go anywhere near the cell with Ian Brady in. This gentleman has come to visit him from the House of Lords, and you will ensure that you stay completely away. And I said, yeah, all right, that's the orders. And he led this member of the House of Lords, big fella, rather heftily built, but immaculately dressed, you know, really smart, pinstripe suit, the full Monty, led him to Ian Brady's cell, let him in, shot the bolt and shut the door, so it wasn't locked, but it was closed behind him. Now, I was under direct instructions to go nowhere near that, but I kept a close watch on this. There were some strange sounds coming out of that cell, and when the man came out 15, 20 minutes later, no longer was he immaculately dressed. His tie was undone, his shirt collar was open, he was flushed, red and sweating, and he didn't look at me at all. He just turned straight down the landing. Must have been about 18 stone, this guy. Big hefty fella. Walked down, shook hands with the senior officer. Whatever was said, I don't know, because I couldn't hear it. And off he went. And the senior officer said, I want a word with you. So I went. He said, you didn't see anything, did you? I said, I did exactly what you told me to do. I stayed well away. I said, but I know who that was. He said, you don't know who that was. He said, because you didn't see him come, and you didn't see him go, and you didn't see anything. Am I making myself clear? I said, well, if you say so, I'm not bothered, am I? I'm just patrolling the landings. But believe me, Ian Brady got some important visitors, and what they were seeing him for, your guess is as good as mine, but I know what I think. Anyway, that's Little Tales from the Jails today. That was only 2 notorious inmates that I came across. I will discuss others in later things. Do please like, subscribe, and leave me a comment. That's the song dinger, folks. I know it strikes fear into the hearts of men. But there's no need, because today it's a nice, gentle song. And as I said, I was going to tell you a little bit about Herman from Herman's Hermits. He toured in the UK alongside that pervert PJ Proby that I used to manage and write songs for. And he was coming over on tour around about 2005, something like that, about 20 years ago now. And I sent him some pictures of Urmston, because Herman was from Urmston in Manchester, and I used to live in Urmston in Manchester, so I took some photographs of Urmston and sent them to him by email and said, have a look at this, do you recognise this place? Because he got straight back to me saying, yeah, I remember that well, because he went to the music college in Manchester, Chetham's Music College, and that's where he was picked up as and hired with his group. And one of the hits that he had is this one, because he gave me his telephone number and he was coming over on tour, but I still got it written down somewhere. But anyway, I couldn't do it because I was overseas. I think I was in America at the time. Those were the days, when I was almost famous. Those of you who don't believe me, just go on to Google, type in my name, John G. Sutton, and see what comes up. Seriously. Anyway, this is especially for Catherine, who, thank you very much, Catherine, for encouraging me to sing, which my wife doesn't, by the way. Hey, and it's Valentine's Day tomorrow, isn't it? I bought my wife some red roses, and I got her one of these cards, a Valentine's card, and a couple of bottles of wine for the weekend. Yeah. Do you know, 55 years I've been married. The only Valentine's card I've ever got, never one from my wife, was from the woman next door. And I'm not discussing that here. Anyway, seriously, she was about 80 years old. I'm going to sing this song now, No Milk Today by Herman's Hermits. Are you ready? Are you sitting comfortably? I'm going to bugger that up for you. There's no doubt about that. No milk today, my lover's gone away. The bottle stands forlorn, a symbol of the dawn. No milk today, it seems a common sight, but people passing by don't know the reason why. How could they know just what this message means? The end of my hopes, the end of all my dreams. How could they know a palace there had been behind the door where my love reigns supreme? No milk today, it wasn't always so. The company was gay, we turned night into day. But all that's left is a place dark and lonely, a terraced house in a mean street back of town. Becomes a shrine where I think of you only, just 2 up, 2 down. No milk today, it wasn't always so. The company was gay, we turned night into day. As music played, the faster we did dance, we felt it both at once, the start of a romance. How could they know just what this message means? The end of my hopes, the end of all my dreams. How could they know a palace there had been behind the door where my love reigns supreme? No milk today, my love has gone away. The bottle stands forlorn, a symbol of the dawn. But all that's left is a place dark and lonely, a terraced house in a mean street back of town. Becomes a shrine where I think of you only, just two up, two down. No milk today, my love has gone away. The bottle stands forlorn, a symbol of the dawn. No milk today, it seems a common sight, but people passing by don't know the reason why. How could they know just what this message means? The end of my hopes, the end of all my dreams. How could they know a palace there had been behind the door where my love reigned as queen? No milk today, it wasn't always so. The company was gay, we turned night into day. But all that's left is a place dark and lonely, a terraced house in a mean street back of town. And all that's left is a place dark and lonely, and all that's left is a place dark and lonely in the mean streets back of town. There you go. Not only will you not be wanting any milk after you've heard that, I imagine that you might even be seeking some liquid refreshment like this, as I'm about to partake, to wash away the memory of that song. Anyway, I hope you liked it, Catherine. Tales from the Jails, folks. John G. Sutton.